Today, how to use the techniques of getting things done to manage major projects. Hi, I'm Dave Edwards. Today, we learn from David Allen, the author of GTD, Getting Things Done, and well-known productivity expert. Before we get to my conversation with David, let me ask you to subscribe to this series of conversations. Just hit the subscribe and the like button below. One of the major thrusts of David Allen's Getting Things Done productivity system is that you need to write everything down and track all of the next actions of any project. In the last couple of years, David Allen moved from California to the Netherlands and renovated an apartment there. So I wanted to talk to David about how he manages a big project like that.
Well, my wife and I share a database, that we use to keep track of things we're still waiting to happen, things that we've ordered that haven't come yet. Um, I keep an Excel spreadsheet in terms of keeping track of all the expenses for all of that. So it's just a matter of okay, what data might I find useful, in the process of doing it. And many times, a lot of those projects were not mine. Uh, for instance, I had a project called set up my own little office here in the apartment, and that was just on my project list. And I had waiting fors from the things that I was waiting on for other people to do, and things that need to be delivered, so that I could finally say, okay, done. And that was on my project list from for the last 9 months. And finally, I got to check it off because I finally got all the last two pieces that I needed, to set up my office the way I wanted it. So, I just, most of those were, I treated as sort of individual projects, not like one huge project. That was just such a big thing anyway, to renovate and, finish the renovation for the apartment.
Mhm.
You know, that was just such an obvious thing anyway as a goal, because golly, we bought this place, January of last year. So it's been what, 14, 15 months. And
Yeah.
there's still, some, a couple of significant pieces that haven't finished yet. But I haven't bothered to kind of keep track of all of that, because I have, we have hired somebody to sort of manage all the construction and renovation pieces,
Mhm.
and, you know, trusting him to be able to manage that as appropriate. And then as things show up, then we can ping him and then manage that. And then, those show up then as sort of individual little projects and individual things to, like, can track it. Now, if I just don't have that, I don't have that complex a life now where I've got 45 of such projects. That's like just one of, maybe 12 or 15, significant ones right now that I'm keeping track of and managing status on.
Right.
So I don't need to do a whole lot of tracking because it's just so obvious. Because I
Right.
live here, so it's obvious. I just walk around and go, "Hey, how's
You
that?
see
Do I need
everything
to do
every
this
day.
or that?"
Yeah.
Yeah, and and my wife and Catherine just manages a whole lot of those pieces anyway. So
Yay, Catherine.
yay. Well, it's a coin toss in terms of, do you trust this? Do you trust that life as it's going to happen is sufficient reminder for you, or do you need to have some sort of external trigger to make sure that something doesn't fall through a crack, or that you
Mhm.
feel comfortable about what's going on?
So you have this
And
database of everything that's supposed to be going on, and you're supposed to remember how much of that was something that you made part of your weekly review, or did you just kind of trust that you're the person that you hired
no,
to handle all
just no, I just we just trusted it. And then, every once in a while I would go back through that just to see, and catch it up, because, a lot of it already happened. I didn't mark it off or didn't erase it out of the database. You know,
that? Mhm.
so it was just a matter of just curating the stuff.
Yeah.
Not a big deal.
Not a big deal, boy. I'll tell you, I haven't moved in quite a few years, and not looking forward to the day that I got to do that again. But um, I mean, you just seemed so chill about it, and I remember moving, man, and it was one of the most stressful episodes of my life.
Well,
I
I think on all those surveys that say one of the most stressful things in life, one is moving. You
yeah,
know, and you know, buying or selling a house or your apartment or something like that. Those are always huge stressors.
Yeah.
Yeah. And and all the new decisions that you have to make. There's an infinite number of decisions you have to make, especially when we redid this apartment. You know, early on when we first bought it, we said because it had been renovated, 4 or 5 years before, and it was okay. But we said once we got sort of once we got it, which was hard to do here in Amsterdam, but once we got it, then we said, might be the last place we live. Catherine's 63, I'm 76. So we said, this might be the last thing. Then we want to make sure it's done right. So we don't want the, oh shit, we should have's, kind of show up, if we hadn't done something the way we really wanted to do it. So we had a great designer come in. And of course, unfortunately, a great designer comes in and he goes, if this was me, what I would do. And so, we wound up with a huge amount of if you walked into our apartment now, this is not the same wall, not the same floor, not the same ceiling, not the same lighting, not the same wall.
Yeah.
Hardly anything is the way it was when we bought it and then we moved in. And so all the decisions you have to make, this is chalk paint. In my little office space, Catherine has her chalk paint in her office space, different color. And so, which color and how do you make those decisions? It's an infinite number of decisions that you have to make about that.
Yeah.
A lot of that was just, it's kind of like when we moved. I remember, Dave, when we moved, back in 1992, when we bought our little place in Ojai in California. It was sort of a teardown to begin with, or should have been, but it was okay. And that was what we could afford. It was lovely and had an incredible 1 acre yard that had all kinds of potential. But when we first moved into that, I created a specific list, which was uh, things, you know, uh, I forget what I named it, but it was all the stuff that we wanted to do or change or fix or to make decisions about. And I put that on a list that I didn't need to do every day. I just like, okay, what's the next thing of these? And so what's the weekend project? And
Mhm.
so I would just go to that list to go, okay, this weekend, let's handle that. Or
Right.
this weekend, let's handle that. So it was a list of, it's not someday maybe, because all those things we wanted to do, but it was like there were just too many things to do.
Yeah.
But at some point we needed to whatever. And actually, even when we bought this apartment, I created a list called "Once We're In." Once we're in, then let's rethink, how we set up this or what we want to do here, what we want to do here. And so I could put those kind of out of my head and just wait until things were more on cruise control, and then those things could come up. So
I
it's
really
it's a
like that
kind
idea
of a
because
it's kind of a
otherwise,
version. It's a version of someday maybe, but it's not. It's someday maybe. It's kind of like the movies you might want to see,
right.
or the food you might want to cook, or those kind of things. They're kind of someday maybe, but at the same time, you don't want to lose those. You don't want to lose those ideas. And wow, wonder what creative stuff we could do, right?
Yeah.
Food wise or whatever. And so you have those. You already have captured all of those potential things to do.
I really like the idea of breaking that down into smaller lists because otherwise that one gigantic list is just too overwhelming. I mean, if you would have looked at that list coming into a weekend in Ojai and saw a list of 75 items, you would have said, "Oh, I'll just sit down and have a glass of wine. I'm not going to even think about that."
For sure.
David Allen, the author of Getting Things Done. He and I have periodic conversations here on YouTube. I would hope that you don't miss any of them. And if all you have to do is subscribe and hit the like button below, and you'll be notified when we post more of these episodes. A reminder, if you're interested in productivity, I did a lot of research on the top techniques that work for people to become more productive. It's GTD and a whole lot more. It's all in my online class. Check it out, Productivity and Time Management. It's available right now. Go to my website, daveedwardsmedia.com, click on courses, and you'll find out more information there. I'm Dave Edwards. Thanks for joining me today.